how many hours do we spend? And this is a rhetorical question. When it comes to communication skills in dealing with people having a bad day, the research on this is about 4 to 6 hours per academy in 6 months.
Brothers and sisters, brothers and sisters, I don't know what this world is coming to.
You're listening to the Black and Blue Podcast, a discussion and celebration of the roles of African Americans and other minorities in U.S. law enforcement. Your host on the Black and Blue Podcast is Dale Peters, a law enforcement professional with over 20 years experience in the business. Hop on board this Black and Blue train of interviews, current events, and pop culture conversations. So get ready. The Black and Blue Podcast is coming at you right now. Hey, Square Pegs, what's going on? Welcome back to the Interrogation Room. My name is Dale. I'm the host of the Black and Blue Podcast. Thank you for joining me here today on this episode. Like I said before, I introduced somebody from Sacramento earlier, and now I got another brother from Sacramento, the Sacramento area. I think something's going on with a little rivalry here between NoCal and SoCal. But anyway, my man here is a 16-year veteran of the Sacramento Police Department. Please help me welcome in Obed Magny. Hey, what's going on, brother? How's it going?
Man, how you doing? Happy Saturday.
Yes, I'm good. My Saturday's good, you know. It's a beautiful day outside, but I'm inside because I got some honeydews to do. But, you know, it's all good. It's all part of life, right? It's all part of love.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah. So how you guys dealing with COVID-19? That's the big topic of everybody around the world right now.
Well, personally, I'm not going out anywhere. But then again, everything is closed. So I'm just trying to maintain, trying to be safe, trying to be healthy. You know, I wear my mask everywhere I go. Anytime I step outside the house, you know, if I go shopping or anything, you know, I wear gloves. I'm thinking I'm probably one of the few people that actually wears gloves. I try not to touch anything. But, you know, as far as that goes, you know, just trying to, you know, stay healthy. I did get tested last week, and I was negative. So, whew, I'm good there.
Yeah. Did you have some sort of scare or what
you know,
was the test?
So I had some really bad allergies, and I'm thinking they're allergies. But then, you know, with people talking about they have different symptoms and things that they've been coming down with, I was like, well, you know, what if I have it and I'm just in denial? You know, I don't want to wait till I'm like hooked up to a ventilator or something like that. So why wouldn't I go and get tested? So, you know, I talked to my doctor, went and got tested. And in the interest of disclosure, if anybody goes and get this test, it's not a pleasant experience.
I've heard.
Bro, let me tell you something, man. They had this swab, and they're like, yeah, we're going to put it on your nostrils, both your nostrils. I'm like, yeah, it's no big deal. They're just going to go in there a little bit. No. They was all up in there, almost into the brain.
Ooh.
Your boy was over here in tears. I'm talking Niagara Falls on both of my eyes. You know what I'm saying? I was bawling.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
So and they're like, we got to the other side. And I'm like, wait, what? And yeah.
Years ago, my department sent us to some tactical medical training, and that's what they were pushing. This is like, I don't know, about 5-6 years ago, sticking tubes up everybody's nose to help them breathe. And we had to do it in the class. So then after we all came back, we all, you know, whenever you get a man down calls, like, stick a tube up his nose, just do it. You know, that wasn't fun. It's like, if I had to go through it, you got to go through it. So I feel your pain, brother. I know. It makes you gag and cry and all that.
But you know, my department, you know, they're very good as far as like giving us PPE. So we've got more than enough gloves, more than enough hand sanitizers, you know, N95 masks and so forth. So thankfully, you know, there's no shortage, at least, you know, where I'm working, of you know, equipment to protect ourselves. And I'm very, very, very overly cautious. So I'd be that officer, you know, with the mask and the goggles and the gloves, you know, and I'd be like 15 feet away from everybody. I don't go inside people's houses unless I absolutely have to. It's like, oh, how about we come outside and talk? Oh, no, you can stay right there.
Right.
Oh, stay right here in your driveway. We'll talk, you know. So, you know, it's just, you know, those things are trying to be safe, you know.
Good deal. So I mentioned that you are a 16-year veteran of Sacramento PD. What do you do over there now?
So I'm currently working in our patrol division. I work swing shift in the area of South Sacramento. So I've been doing that for a little bit. I've worked in other various units in my 16-year career. I've worked as a school resource officer. Back in the day when we had a narcotics unit, I worked there, during the summers, or at least for a couple summers when, school was out, school resource officer. Worked in our professional standards unit. So that was the, policy department of our department. And, I got to, experience that part of the admin. I was on our SPOA board, union board for 3 years. So I got to see that side of the department from the labor side. So, I've, got to see him a little bit here and there, and I can't believe I'm even saying 16 years. It's like I just got here yesterday. So I'm originally from Boston, Massachusetts. And so,
okay.
I'm a Haitian brother. My parents are from Haiti. I was first born in the United States.
Nice.
So, I got that tropical blood in me, and I'm just like, hold up, wait a minute. Why are we out here in Boston? Why are we not in Miami? And so, I talked to our parents about this. They're just like, oh, Haiti was too hot. And of course, they were coming to the United States for a better life and so on and so forth. And they lived in Miami, which is where I was born. And they were like, Miami was too hot. And they moved to Boston. I'm like, oh, hell no. What, Boston? Come on, man. It's cold. It snows. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, So I always knew whenever I was going to find myself in a career, law enforcement, it was going to be in the state of Florida or in the state of California. Thankfully, I chose the state of California, so I've been there, all 16 of my years here in Sacramento. It's been a great career, been able to do a lot of different things, which I'm sure we'll get into. I don't want to give you the whole interview.
No. We'll definitely get there. Yeah. So what brought you to law enforcement in the first place? Had you always want to do that, or what's the story there?
So I don't know that it was, I'm dating myself when I say this, so for some of the younger viewers, they're not going to know what TJ Hooker is. But TJ Hooker, I see you laughing. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so I used to love TJ
with the bad
Hooker.
toupee, Bad
toupee. And then for those who don't know, he had the baton. You just throw the baton, and then the bad guys would trip and run away. So so I've always had an interest in law enforcement, but for my Caribbean people, who understand this, when you come from a Haitian household or from a Caribbean household, your parents are telling you this is what success looks like. You're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. There is no other options for careers or anything like that. So not that I ever saw myself as doing any one of those things, but as far as law enforcement, it was always there. There was always an interest there, but I didn't know that I was going to be a police officer. I always wanted to be like a federal agent and travel because I like to travel and so on and so forth. But when I was in college, third year in college, when I was almost graduating, a friend of mine talked about, hey, why not, put in for a career in law enforcement as a police officer. And so I applied, several locations, and Sac PD said, hey, come on down. And so while living in Boston still, I flew out here to Sacramento a couple of times during the application process. I won't tell you how much money your boy had to spend out of pocket for that whole process.
Yeah, I could imagine. That's some money right there. It's like a 3,000-mile trip.
Now your boy spent some bread, to make that happen. So, but by the grace of God, that did happen. So I'm glad that I landed out here in Sacramento. And not that there's a rivalry thing, for anybody listening. I do love Southern California. There's no knock on NorCal. But the scene down there, I'm feeling SoCal. I'm feeling San Diego and LA, and right down here. Not the same like that. But,
the love is mutual because I love San Francisco. I love the Bay.
Oh,
I love the Bay.
Absolutely.
So we go up there a couple times a year, 2 or 3 times a year. I love it up there. So So,
right.
but how do you get in? How do you hear about Sacramento from Boston? I mean, what's that about?
Man, you know what? Even when I tell this story, it still sounds like I'm making this up. All right, so I'm sitting here in front of a computer, and I'm just like, So I applied to CHP, but they had a hiring freeze at the time. And, I wasn't like drowning in money where I'm like, oh, let me fly out here to San Diego. Oh, let me fly out here to San Francisco. So it wasn't really like that. I flew out to San Francisco because I initially applied with the University of California, San Francisco Police Department. And never really heard back from them. And, for anybody who's looking for a career in law enforcement, that is not unusual. If you apply to like 4 different, 5 different, 10 different places, you may have half of them not even respond to you, or they just leave you hanging, and, you just got to keep it moving. But I literally just randomly picked Sacramento. No rhyme, no reason. Literally.
Had you heard about it before? Or?
I mean, I've heard of Sacramento, but you got to remember when when you're on the East Coast, all of California is LA and San Diego.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, you must be down the street. Oh, San Francisco must be like 30 minutes away from Los Angeles. That's how we all think out there on the East Coast. So I'm thinking everything's beaches and surfing and all that stuff. Not that I surf, I'm just saying. But and I tried it once and it was terrible. I'm just leaving it at that.
Yeah, but, nope. I'm not out there neither. I feel you on that one. I feel you on that one.
Yeah, but I've always loved California, and I did a little digging in, the retirement prospects and career opportunities and all that kind of stuff. And there's no money in the state of Florida comparatively between the state of California if you compare it to Florida. And I got student loans that I got to be paying off. I still got some student loans I'm still paying off. Right. So I'm blessed. The 350, which I guess is another podcast for another day.
Yeah.
The 350, I got in when I got in, and I got my airtime. I bought 5 years of airtime before they took that away. So I lucked out. I got to be honest with you. This was God. God was like, man, I'm gonna put you in Sacramento for a reason. So that's how that happened.
Yeah. And since you're Haitian, is
Are you sure? Go to my zone.
Yeah. Hey, but your folks are in Florida, or where they at now?
So my parents are in Boston still. My parents are divorced, but my mother's in Boston. My dad's in Stoughton, and Stoughton's like right outside of Boston. My brother's in Miami, Florida, and my sister, she's in Boston. So for the most part, all my cousins, everybody's out there on the East Coast. I'm out here dolo. So
yeah, all by yourself, huh?
I'm just like, man, y'all know the weather's nice, but some people, home is home and they can't get out, and I'm like, man, I couldn't get out fast enough. I see snow, and I'm like, oh God, it's like Superman kryptonite. It's like, oh no, don't bring the snow.
Yeah, up there in Sacramento too, you can drive to it and see it, and then come back.
And guess what? I ain't driving to it. I still ain't driving to it. I'm like, oh, the snow's on. I'm not going in that direction.
Right.
I'm straight.
You still got people in Haiti?
Yeah, some of my family's still down there in Haiti. So hopefully,
have you been back?
So I've been to Haiti once. This is one of those things that I don't like to admit in public, but it is what it is. So I was there when I was like 1 year old, and I've been dying to get back ever since. And I've traveled to Brazil, to Costa Rica, Puerto Rico. I've been to the Dominican Republic a couple of times. So for whatever reason, I've always been, I have not made it to Haiti, and I will be making it to Haiti. In fact, when I go to Haiti, my intention is to be there for a couple of weeks because I need to see and experience everything.
Right.
Just with the history of, the revolution, I want to see the Citadel, that masterpiece in and of itself. I can not only take up the oxygen with the, with the podcast and the history of Haiti, but there's just a lot of history down there, and I got to get back to, not just the roots, but seeing it, firsthand, experiencing it. And I know that there's, issues down there with poverty and even with crime and so on and so forth. And there could be an opportunity there to maybe collaborate with, some of the police departments down there, and maybe helping them come into the 21st century with some of the things that I'm doing on the side, which I'm sure will.
Yeah. And that leads us to what the things that you are doing on the side. Is that shirt anything that you're wearing? Anything to do with anything that you're doing on the side there?
Yes and yes. So this symbol here is from the Black Youth Leadership Project. So there's a group here in Sacramento that works with Black children and giving them opportunities, not just in education, but career opportunities, college, prep, so on and so forth. And they like to link up with Black officers here in Sacramento, and not just here in the Sacramento area. I mean, if you're in the Bay Area, you can still, get involved too. But, we both know that police officers are not seen in a positive light, especially in our community. And, we could stay here and say, okay, screw those guys, we can stay in our silos and just keep things the same, the way they are, or we can proactively get involved and change those things. So, this symbol here, Miss Lorraine Pryor, I have to tell her about this because she'll listen to the show I'm very blessed to be involved with that organization. She does a lot of work with these young kids, bring them to the state capitol, introducing them to, career aspirations, whether it's politics, whether it's you want to be a judge or you want to be an attorney, defense attorney or prosecutor, doesn't matter, police officers. But, we also want them to know, hey, you don't have to be afraid of anybody in a uniform. A guy like me is about as normal as they come. And a lot of us are normal. And people don't see that human side of police officers or that humanistic side. So, being able to interact with the children, and now it's not like they see me as Officer Mag. They're like, oh, that's Obed. It's like one of their people, one of their brothers, sisters, one of their uncles, whatever it is. And, that's one of the great ways that we can break down that stereotype of, officers being a certain way or indifferent and those type of things. So there are some of us working to bring those positive images into the community. So it's just one of many. The other, I guess you could say, is somewhat of a crown jewel. I was fortunate enough to be one of the co-founders of the American Society of Evidence-Based Policing. And this organization infuses or pushes or advocates for research to be more in the DNA and what we do things in policing. So, if you think about, for example, the American Medical Association or the American Psychological Association, some of those organizations, they put out the best practices or the best research on solving certain issues or certain problems. So if, as an example, I want to get healthy or I want to lose weight, I will go with the guidelines that the AMA or, a nutritionalist or, some of those organizations that, do research stuff, to be better. Well, when you think about policing, and there is no of the equivalent. So, for example, we know in the crack cocaine epidemic of the 1980s, the 1970s, where, Black folks in particular were just getting hemmed up left and right and being locked up. And I'm not making this a controversial thing. I'm just trying to give you an example of what it is that we're doing. But, we took a public safety approach in solving that problem. And what would have been better is more of a public health approach, or maybe even a partnership in solving that problem, as we see today with the opioid crisis. And so with what it is that we do with the American Society of Evidence-Based Policing is we try to infuse or put out the practices and the methodologies that do no harm to any communities. So if you're looking to, if you're a police chief and you're saying, hey, you know what, we have a burglary problem, or we have, a social nuisance problem, or we have, an issue with trust in policing and legitimacy, how do we solve this particular problem? How do we, if, you're the police chief, Mr. Peters, to Chief Peters, you're like, hey, you know what? I want us to have more of a relationship with our community. What is the best way to make that happen? I would look to the American Society of Evidence-Based Policing to push out what those research briefs are, which is what we do regularly. We put out research briefs on research that's out there with criminologists and other stakeholders. We put out a blog every month with people doing innovative things in their organizations. And it's not so much the, hey, I heard so-and-so is doing something down the street, so we're just going to replicate it. It's like, no, that could be one approach, but what is it that you're doing, or what is it that's being done? And is it being measured in a way that has legitimacy? So I know I kind of gave you a lot over there, but that's what we're doing. We're basically trying to be the equivalent of the American Medical Association for police, so that we do no harm to our communities.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And are they based up in Sacramento, or where are they?
So I want to say we're relatively new. So we're having our third conference. We're having our annual conference next week virtually, because obviously the COVID thing canceled everything. We're going to have it in DC. So if you go to americansebp.org and register, registration is free. Everybody can get on there. So I hope everybody does sign up. But technically the address of the organization is Washington, D.C., but we're all over the place. Right. So me being one of the co-founders, I'm here in Sacramento. The president, Renee Mitchell, she's in North Carolina. We've got people in, Vallejo, right up here in the Bay Area, people in Nashville. We're basically an organization of everyone is everywhere. And so, then we have, other people who are members, and our members include researchers, police chiefs, leaders in policing, other stakeholders, activists. Everybody, working together to have policing work for everyone. So that, again, like I said, we do no harm, not just in the community, but no harm to the police officers too. When it comes to officer safety, use of force, de-escalation, you name it. We've got all that information that we can give out. And a lot of us are doing current research, to inform, the masses on a lot of these things. So
yeah, what spurred you to get into that?
I wish I knew everything you said.
Yeah, we got the time. We got the time.
So
I think we do. Yeah.
Yeah. We got some time. So I have a doctorate degree in organization leadership. And when I was a second year doctorate student, and this was 2011, I came across this thing called emotional intelligence. And the more I learned about emotional intelligence, and this has more, and for those who don't know what emotional intelligence is, it's really controlling your emotions while managing the emotions of others and having a wherewithal and understanding people on a deeper level as opposed to just what you see on the surface. And that's the easiest way for me to explain it like that. So this was oh my God, this is it. This is what's missing in policing. This is why people hate police officers so much, because they think we're indifferent and that we're always hard and then, so on and so forth. And if we could just communicate better, because that's one of the components of emotional intelligence, people might like us more and they might understand us more, and vice versa. We would have a better understanding of other people, and we wouldn't find ourselves in situations where we misinterpret, in an event or anything like that. So fast forward a couple of years. So Dr. Renee Mitchell, who also has her PhD, she used to work for our department. She now works for RTI, which is a research institution in North Carolina. And so the two of us were talking, and there were some other like-minded folks who were like, hey, how can we improve policing? And not from the standpoint of, a political standpoint, or from from a standpoint of an interest group that's trying to get over on it. It was like, hey, we know that when surgery is being performed on a human body, whoever the surgeons are, they're going to use the most effective methodologies possible that's going to ensure that that patient makes it through and recovers quickly and safely, and so on and so forth. Why would we not have the same mentality in policing? So this is how myself, Renee Mitchell, Jason Potts, who's a captain at the Vallejo Police Department, we all, and they're not the only ones. There's Rachel Tover down there in SoCal, and others. So we all kind of got together, and we kind of formed this organization, called the American Society of Evidence-Based Policing. And this is how we kind of got started. We had our first conference in Philadelphia. I'm sorry, the first conference was in Arizona. The second one was in Philadelphia. Third one was in Cincinnati. This one's going to be in DC. And then, now obviously we're going to do it virtually. And we've been growing ever since. And so that's basically the backbone or the ethos of the organization. Is there are a lot of people who don't trust police officers in certain communities, particularly Black communities, right? But there are other people who, don't trust the police for other reasons. And so if we can communicate better, if we can show that there are better ways and you can achieve the same amount of success using the least amount of force, or the least amount of presence or resources, why would we not implement those things? So that's kind of like how, I didn't know there were other people thinking this way too. We just by happenstance ran into each other, and then that's kind of how we ended up over here.
Nice. Yeah. And sound like you've been doing a whole bunch of different things in that nature for a while now, right?
Yeah. So right now all right. So emotional intelligence, I'll give this as an example. I'm going to ask, let me ask you something, Mr. Hope.
Yeah.
How many police departments do we have here in the United States?
Oh, hundreds.
If I were to ask you for an exact number, what would you say?
I wouldn't be able to give you one. But I would say 1,142. I don't know.
We have roughly 18,000 different police departments here in the United States.
I was off by a little bit.
Just like 1 or 2.
Yeah,
it's no big deal, right?
That makes sense though. Now that I think about it, yeah.
So you've got 18,000 police departments with 18,000 different policies, 18,000 different directions of, 18,000 different cultures and how they do things, and so on and so forth. So I could be a police department in, here, and I'm doing all of the right things, and I've got all this community trust, so on and so forth. And the neighboring agency next door can do the complete opposite and say, nope, we're going to do heavy enforcement. We're going to do whatever. We don't care if we don't, create any kind of relationship with our communities and so on. So, and that agency will suffer no repercussions for their direction of how they lead and so on and so forth. That's a problem because we both know something that happens in Detroit is going to affect the officers in Sacramento, which is going to affect the officers in Miami, which is going to affect the people in Georgia who are going to be seen in a place like Arizona. So the police are the police. Some people don't know that there's a difference in sheriffs and, jurisdiction wise. They just see the badge and that's it. So if you've got 18,000 police departments doing 18,000 different things, there is no uniformity, but to a certain extent, right? And when it comes to the approach of whether or not it's, inclusion, trust, and legitimacy in the communities, and so on and so forth. So I'm using emotional intelligence as an example, as just one example. 99% of our job as police officers, 99.9, I would argue actually, is dealing with people who are probably having a bad day. People in the streets having a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
And that runs the spectrum from one side to the other, okay? How many hours do we spend? And this is a rhetorical question. When it comes to communication skills in dealing with people having a bad day.
Right.
The research on this is about 4 to 6 hours per academy in 6 months.
Yeah, that's nothing.
How many hours do we spend on firearms training? How many hours do we spend on emergency vehicle operations, driving code 3, pursuit driving, so on and so forth, use of force? We basically spend, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't be spending time on firearms and so on and so forth, because those things are dangerous. And obviously, we're in a position where we can take somebody's life if we feel like someone's life's in danger or our own in danger. And so those things are important, but we're training for worst case scenarios. But we don't put a premium on the front end of, hey, you know what? Little Susie's having a bad day because her parents lost their job and she's working 4 jobs. So I tried to help, make ends meet. So because, financial situations, she can't get her car registered. And so she had to go out, and then now we stopping her, and now we taking her car away from her and towing it. So those dynamics, those nuances in our community specifically, right? When it comes to emotional intelligence, we don't do any type of training for that. None. Virtually none, I should say.
Right.
So I'm in the middle of, I'm writing a couple articles on this right now for peer review. And one is on the need for emotional intelligence in policing. And I'm doing another one looking at the literature across the board. And I'm talking globally, worldwide, on why is it that we don't have this kind of training in America? Because if you look outside the United States, places like Nigeria, India, there's emotional intelligence training in their police officers going on. You can find that literature, but we're scant here in the United States. And so, in addition to being a co-founder with the American Society of Evidence-Based Policing, I'm a former NIJ lead scholar. And for those who don't know, LEAD stands for Law Enforcement Advancing Data and Science. And this is where the National Institute of Justice recognizes 10 people each year, to be ambassadors and so on and so forth, to advocate for research in policing, people who are doing research in policing. And I think at this point, there have only been maybe 60 or 70 people recognized nationally and internationally as a lead scholar. And I've been blessed and privileged to say that I've been one of those people. But one of the things is that with that designation, there's a responsibility. And I want to mention 2 people's names. And one of them is Deputy Chief Sean Barnes with the Salisbury Police Department in North Carolina, and Deputy Chief Tarek McGuire, who's down there in Arlington, Texas. And these 2 brothers and I took it upon ourselves because, again, we have this platform and we're not going to squander it and let it, go to waste. We about that life, you know what I'm saying? So what we were going to do before COVID was like, nah, we're going to put that on the back burner, all that stuff. We were going to do a 54, and we are still going to do this. This is not we're not doing this. We're still going to be doing this. We were going to do a 54-mile walk from Selma to Montgomery to commemorate the civil rights walk, from back in the day. And
Yes.
we're going to be
Yes.
doing some focus groups, town hall meetings, where we're not just pitching, we're pushing for more legitimacy in policing when it comes to how do we increase community trust in with the police. And we're releasing a book later on this year, talking about all this stuff. So, some of us ain't bored during quarantine time. We out here writing, and doing some more writing.
Uh-huh.
But these two brothers that I'm working with, they're superstars in their own right. Sean's doing all this work with community policing and community engagement down there in North Carolina, and Tarek. I mean, that brother's a national superstar. He's talking everywhere, dynamic speaker. He did some work at Howard University when he was a fellow with the International Association of Chiefs of Police. Fellow, which is the largest organization in the world, the largest police organization in the world. So, he's been a great ambassador, great representative, of that organization. And so, again, these are the people that I'm working with and collaborating with. It's not enough for us to say, hey, we need to do better. No, we're going above and beyond. We're working on developing the research, identifying the research, and we're going to give a practical application of that research. So we're not going to say, hey, go out there and talk to the community and do that. It's just like, yeah, anybody can do that. But we're going to give the specifics of what works, what we know to work, and what more research needs to be done to confirm or say, hey, there's some other things going on. And I say this because you're familiar with the DARE program, right?
Yeah.
What do you know about the
Absolutely.
DARE program? What do you know about the DARE program, sir?
I remember that was cops trying to get kids to stay away from drugs.
Was it successful? Would you say?
I would think it would. I mean, it worked for me.
It was a disaster.
It worked for me.
Your
Yeah.
anecdotal example, that don't count.
Yeah. I remember the say nope to dope.
Yep.
And ugh the drugs. I remember Nancy Reagan saying that. So
yeah,
maybe me, I'm an aberration, maybe, but yeah.
No, and
I
I'm
get
not,
where you're coming from.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that from a negative standpoint with a negative connotation. Yeah. What I'm saying is that the idea that a police officer can come into a school and talk to kids about not doing drugs, that who would say that's a bad idea? Right. Nobody would say, you know what? No, that doesn't sound right. We should not do that whatsoever. It's a feel-good thing, and I think it's a great approach. One of the things people make the mistake of is if you try something and it doesn't work, it's like, oh, just scrap it. No. So for those who don't know, listening to this, the DARE program, I won't get lost into the weeds with the details, but yeah, a police officer comes in, talks about stay away from drugs because X, Y, and Z, you're likely to be a failure in life, et cetera, et cetera. So Indiana University, the American Psychological Association did research on, let's take a look at some of this data of the students who went through this program, and let's look at the data of the students who did not go through the program. And it had what's called a backfire effect. And a backfire effect is it actually did more harm than good. The students who were in the DARE program, those who participated, were more likely to land in the criminal justice system than those who were not in the program.
Why do you think that is?
There could be multiple reasons. It could be, hey, you know what? You're telling me not to do this thing, so now I might want to do it. There's many reasons that could, that lead to that. You know what I'm saying? But the point is that if you're introducing a program, and if you're not, and this is why I'm such a big proponent of research, is that you can do something that feels good, but if at the end of the day, or while this is being implemented, you're actually doing more harm. If you're implementing a program that's going to land kids in jail, would you say, yeah, you know what, we should keep doing that? Of course not. Nobody's gonna say that. So I use the DARE program as just one example because there's many, many examples. And we at the American Society of Evidence-Based Policing, these are the things that we try to talk about. You might have a program or something that you might think, yeah, this is good because, etc. But you're looking at the output or the outcomes. You're not looking at the damage being done in the middle, or if there is any damage being done in the middle. So that's why that's why, like I said, Sean and Tarek, myself, those of us at the ASEDP, we're big proponents of let's not do what feels good. Let's do what works. And let's make sure what it is that we do that works doesn't do harm to the communities and it keeps officers safe.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would think that you would get the evidence from programs that you're implementing, and things that aren't working, you either tweak them or you scrap them along the way.
So I do these presentations, right? Evidence-based policing 101. So one of the slides that I have. So yes, I like to drink alcohol. For those who didn't know or who was wondering, okay.
Okay, yeah.
I
was wondering.
Hey, I'm just saying. I mean, after this podcast, I may or may not have this Tito's waiting for me. But that's another story for another day.
That's another podcast.
Yes, another podcast. So I'm using Tito's as an example. If you like cranberry vodka, right, and you make it the first time because you've never had cranberry vodka, and let's say you put in too much juice and you don't taste the alcohol, do you say, "Oh, cranberry vodka is this is just too sweet," and you just toss it and then you don't try it again? No. Okay, this isn't that good. So maybe you put in a little bit more Tito's. You try to. So you're basically working on finding that equilibrium. Research is the same way. So with the DARE program, do you completely scrap it because you see that you have a backfire effect? No. That was a great question you asked. You look at the nuances. What are some of those variables? The kids who aren't finding themselves in the criminal justice system, is it because they were told from an early age, yeah, this is out here, but you know what? As long as you're responsible, you'll be okay. Is it the officer coming in and telling you no, and then it's a resentment towards authority, so you're gonna do what you want? And so you have to figure out what that is, So that again, I don't know, it's kind of like apples and oranges, but it's no different. It's like you try something, if it's falling short or whatever, find out what those nuances are, try it again, see if it works. If you're not right where you're supposed to be, work on it some more. So it's all of those things.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Definitely true. You gotta research, tweak, and keep it moving.
Right. And remember, your number one, the number one mantra is you don't want to do harm to the community. And I say that because, and I cannot harp that enough, because if you look at all of the research institutions, if you look at all of academia, all of the schools, whether it's Arizona State University, UMass, Boston, whatever it is, all of these institutions have what's called an IRB, and that's the Institutional Review Board. Researchers can't even start their research until a board looks at all of the potential damages or the potential harm that it can do to, and this is in the medical field also. This is not just academia. This is the medical field too. You can't even start any research unless somebody, or a board, I should say, not somebody, a board says, you know what, have you considered this and this? Because this could, these are some of the, backfire effects of this. How do you account for that? And you have to account for those things, So again, when we talk about policing with the 18,000 police departments doing 18,000 different things, we don't have an institutional review board to say, hey, that's probably not a good idea. You should probably not do that because you are doing more harm than good, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Well, you sound like a busy man. You got a lot of balls up in the air, a lot of things on your plate.
I can't juggle. Yeah. I can't juggle. If you saw me juggling, man, it's a disaster.
Well, it sounds like you're doing it though. Sounds like you're doing it.
Somebody's got to.
Subconsciously, you're doing it. What's the plans for the future for you? Next 5 years or so?
Retirement. I'm 7 years away from retirement, so I'm actively working on my exit plan as we speak with the stuff that I'm doing right now. So I don't know that I'm ever not going to be working. Again, I'm fortunate and I'm blessed to be a police officer and doing this stuff at the same time. But obviously, I can't be doing this job forever. And what I want to do, I guess you'd say, when I retire, is continue to advocate, push for research, do research to make the policing profession better than when I came on, So, whether it's consulting, I have my own consulting business that I'm trying to get off the ground. And again, this is one of those, I got to sleep at some point during the week, right? So,
yeah, right.
So I'm working on a lot of these things. And I'm just going to, continue to do the Lord's work out here. Try to be the best officer that I can, try to be the best example that I can, especially for, young Black and brown folks who, that may not see, policing as a potential, career choice. And, one of the things that we talk about is, well, if you want to be the difference, if you want to see the change, be the difference you want to see in your community.
Be the difference. Be the difference. Yeah, yeah. You doing? I know with your project there, with your kids that you're mentoring. Do you see a lot of them having interest in law enforcement, or that or some that you really got to kind of coax and let them know what law enforcement is about, so that they can pique that interest a little bit?
So the answer is yes and no. And when those, at the end of the day, if you don't remember anything from this podcast, if there's one thing you've got to take away, is that it is always about relationships. It's always about relationships. To that kid who would have never considered a career in law enforcement, and that's, some of these young brothers that I'm talking to, they're just like, F the police. I ain't doing that. You crazy? You got to understand where their constructs are coming from. They may have grown up where all they saw was police officers kicking in doors, roughing people up, or whatever.
Yep.
Like, that's their image. It's like, y'all are occupiers, y'all are the bad guys. You're not going to change that young man's mind in 30 seconds or in a 5-minute interaction. That ain't going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So it's no different than any relationship, whether you're married or whatever. It's like, it takes time over time. So having that relationship, sustaining that relationship, making sure that that relationship is fostered. That's why I'm wearing this shirt right here, is because unless you're in that kid's life regularly, because a lot of these kids don't have families. I mean, not families. They don't have, maybe a father in the home, or maybe a mother in the home, or a responsible adult in the home. They just latchkey kids or whatever. It's just, you have to know that with the limited time that you have, you want to set and you want to be that positive image for them, so that they can see themselves in you. I'm trying to make it sexy to not just be a police officer, but be educated at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
you don't have to just be a police officer and then that's your life. No, you want to go get your master's degree? You want to go get your law degree? Hey, I'll be the first one there to support you. I'll be your number one cheerleader. Absolutely. Because guess what? If you get hurt on the job and you got to medically retire, sir, as far as I do, there's some people who've had to medically retire that didn't see it coming. And now they're like, what am I doing with my life?
What do I do now?
Yep. Yeah, you got to have an exit or a transition strategy. That's thinking 4, 5, 6 steps ahead. This isn't a job where, you a white collar job, so to speak, where you walk into an office and you get to go home 9 to 5 every day. No, sometimes, what? Stuff happens and, you may not come home. Or if you're lucky enough to come home, you may come home hurt. You've got to have a plan for that, So whether or not, again, whether it's you want to have your own travel agency or work on those things while you're at work, so that, you don't find yourself in a position where, should you find yourself leaving earlier than you expected, you're looking around like, oh, now what do I do in my life? And that's one of the reasons why, a lot of officers commit suicide when when their careers are over, is because, they no longer have that purpose, or they don't know what their purpose in life is, or they never developed. Whether you want to raise cattle or if you want to ranch, that's not my thing. I'm a city slicker. But I'm just saying, whatever your niche is, go out there and do you, and make sure you don't wait till that day. Start working on that today. I tell these young cats all the time. I mean, right now we're in the middle of a global pandemic, and you already starting to see some of these municipalities, some of these agencies starting to lay off public employees. We already went through this in 2008. And I tell these young guys, I'm like, hey, you're good now, but this is not guaranteed. Look out for yourself. You know what I'm saying? If you're into basket weaving, if you want to be the best basket weaver ever, hey, start working on those skills. You know what? If you want to work some overtime to help pay for a class that'll help you start your business, and you want to start going on Legal Zoom and make sure you get on that.
Right.
This is going back to me setting that example. It's like, my weekends, I don't even know what a weekend is. You know what I'm saying? I've got a research paper, the article that I was just telling you about. I've already gone through a couple edits, and my best editing is done when I'm like doing it on paper. That's sitting right here to my right. That's what I'm going to be doing because it's that important to me. Yeah, I'm going to turn up a little bit later and all that stuff. I got to make sure my priorities are taken care of first. And you got to make sure in life, whether it's policing or whatever you're doing, you got to make sure you take care of you first.
No doubt.
If you don't, you're into a world of hurt, So that's why I commend you in doing this, this podcast that you got going on here. You know, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
thinking about doing my own podcast, and I'm like, I don't know where to start. I don't know. I'm looking at you like, okay, this is how you do it. You get that.
Now you know. Now you know. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, my background's not as sexy as yours, but you know what I'm saying? It's, it's
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of balls in the air too. You know, I'm doing this. You know, I
mm-hmm.
DJ on the side. I'm working on my masters. Just about done with my
That's
masters.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
That's it.
you
Hey,
know,
let me salute
yeah.
you, man. You know
Thank
what
you,
I'm saying?
thank you,
No, I'm
brother.
serious,
Thank you,
man. Because
brother.
if we don't lift ourselves up, if we don't support each other, and like I said, if you ever talk to Sean or if you ever talk to Tarek, man, you'll hear the same thing from them too. You know, we're all like three peas in the pods. I mean, it's just like we have to big up. We have to support each other. If we don't, ain't nobody else doing it for us. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So yeah,
Definitely.
I'm right
Yeah.
there with you.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So what's you know, like the admin, the promotional opportunities, what they look like for Sacramento PD as far as African Americans, Latinos, Asians, LGBTQs in Sacramento PD and in the Bay
Uh,
in general.
well, I can't really speak for the Bay Area. I have this thing about Sacramento's technically not Bay. Some people are claiming it as the Bay. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
where's the
Yeah,
line?
it's not. You guys about an hour
Yeah,
north of.
no, it's
Yeah.
you go hold on. It's but that's what I'm saying. It's like is Vacaville, for example, which is like west of here. Is like is that considered the line? I don't know what the line is. I
Okay.
consider Sacramento Central California. That's me.
Okay.
But that's like I said, another podcast for another day, right? So the opportunities are there. You know, if people want to, like, the numbers are not what we want them to be. I'd be lying to you if I said that you know our demographics reflect our community, and they don't. But you know, again, that's still no excuse to not try. And one of the things in our department, for example, is so thankful. I wouldn't say thankfully. I don't know if that's the right word, but we're starting to see more of a representation of what Sacramento actually looks like within our ranks. But a lot of these officers are really, really young. I would even say the majority of the officers, the young officers. I know that you talked to one recently. I mean, we're talking. These guys have like 5 years or less on. You know what I'm saying? So the future
Yep.
looks better. It looks good. You know, but I'll be gone by then. So,
Yeah.
but you know, that's not to say that I'm not supporting them now, but I still wouldn't support them in retirement. You know what I'm saying? So the opportunities are there, but you know, in the meantime, I mean, there's one brother working in detectives. We got other people working in specialty units, and this goes back again to the representation and why that's important too. Is you know, if we got somebody in our group or somebody you know who look like us that work in I don't know, let's say sexual assaults or something like that. I'm just making this up. You know, if I have a question about that, I know I can always hit that brother up like, hey, here's what I got. Am I doing everything I'm supposed to be doing? If there's anything that I should be doing that help make this investigation go smoothly or any loose ends. So it's good to know that we all support each other in that sense. Not that we couldn't get that from other
Yeah.
officers and so on and so forth, but again, I'd be lying to you if I said every single person I've reached out to or every other person that I know who've reached out to others have always helped them. You know,
Sure. Yeah.
so it's always important and it's always nice to know that you got people that you can trust and be like, you know what, I know that whoever I talk to about this issue or whatever it is, they're going to give me an honest answer and they're going to give me the best options to make a decision to, you know, move forward. So as far as like, you know, promotions and all that stuff, I mean, we've had, you know, sergeants and, you know, others of the LGBTQ promote. Obviously, we got a black chief. You know, he's been there for, you know, for a few years. So again, the numbers are not still representative of the city, but you know, we're working on getting there. So,
Right.
and
All
again,
right.
you know, that's you know, again, I try to do my part to represent the organization well, and you know, not just SACPD, but all the other organizations. Because again, this isn't about me. This transcends me. You know, there's a young
Yep.
brother, there's a young Dale Peters out there looking at me who I don't even know, and he's like, I want to be like that young man right there, or I want to be like that person over there. You know, you got to make sure, you know,
Mm-hmm.
when you working, there's eyes on you that they ain't even paying attention to you, you know?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so you got to make sure you do what you do to represent them well, you know,
And
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 yourself.
and that and that's what I try to preach. You know, when I'm out there talking to the young people out there, you know that we gotta do for what we can for each other. You
Yeah.
know, so I try to set the example for them. when I'm out on the street, that's what part of this podcast is about, letting them see me and other officers that look like them, so that maybe they can say, hey, I wouldn't mind doing that in the future too. He looks like me. If he could do it, I can do it too. So that's what we all trying to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could have said that better myself.
All right. So, I appreciate you coming on. You gave me up a lot of good info, man. A lot of good stuff. Tell the people again how to reach the organizations that you're involved with.
All right. So the American Society of Evidence-Based Policing. And so the website is American, common spelling, S like Sam, E like Edward, B like boy, P like Paul, evidence-based. Yeah. .org. I'm over like, I have to write it out for you.
Remember your phonetic alphabet there, man.
I'm not at work. I'm doing a podcast. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
And as far as me goes, I'm on Twitter and Instagram, Obeezy. So that's OBEEZEEE. So it's 2 E's, Z, 3 E's. So you can follow me there. I do a lot of, I push a lot of the stuff that, we put out as far as research and that kind of stuff. So if you ever want to hit me up on an email, Obed at American SEBP.org. So I'm pretty easy to find. I'm not. And
do you do any public speaking?
I'm all over the place, and like I said, COVID was like, so we're gonna need you to stay home for a little bit. So right. I still do some stuff via Zoom. I taught a couple classes via Zoom in one school out there in the Bay Area, and I'm going to be doing a guest lecture for another school in North Carolina soon. Just hit me up if you ever need me to talk to. If you're an educator, you need me to talk to some of your students about something, or if you're in policing and you're looking for ways to improve some of the organizational leadership aspects, depending on whatever that is. If I can't help you, I know people who can help you. But again, I'm doing my best to introduce emotional intelligence and of those soft skills, de-escalation, those type of things into the profession, because it's grossly needed, grossly needed. So if you can help me or some of my colleagues out, I'm here for you. So just holla at a brother. Holla at a brother.
Yeah, with the Haitian accent too. Yeah, love that, man. Yeah. All right, man, before I let you go though, I got a little something I like to play with my guests here. So let me set this up for you so that you can see what I see.
All right, no doubt.
So this game is called
Black or blue, 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 black or blue.
All right, so this game is called Black or Blue. It's really simple. Your category today is all things being equal. That means everything. It's just things. Things, right? Yep. I'm gonna describe a thing, and you tell me what that thing is. It's either a black thing or it's a blue thing. I'll give you a hint if it's black or blue, but you just tell me what it is. All right? Sounds simple, right?
Let's do it.
All right, let's see how it is, Mr. Educator. Here we go. This substance is mined and burned to power machines. It's black. This substance is mined and burned to power machines. It's a black substance.
I'm going to say it's a black thing.
Yeah, it is a black thing, but you were supposed to say it's coal, so I'm going to give that to you. It's coal.
Okay, I got it.
All right, so tell me what this thing is. All right, your next thing here.
Yeah.
This is the region of the atmosphere and outer space that can be seen on the Earth.
The ozone.
Close. This is blue. Let me tell you these colors here. This is blue. Whatever you're going to be describing. This is the region of the atmosphere and outer space that can be seen from the Earth. It's blue. What is it?
You got me. I don't know.
Oh man, it's the sky, man.
Oh come on, it's the sky.
It's the sky. Come on. All right, here we go. Redeem yourself.
All right.
This large black animal had a political group and a superhero named after it.
I'm gonna guess it's Black Panther.
It's a Panther. Yeah. You kind of saw that in there. Technical difficulties. We got that. We got it though.
I actually would have got that. That one I would have got.
Yeah, that was kind of easy. How about this one? This candy, this black candy, is made from a root extract of plant and is usually consumed in long, chewy ropes.
All right, so I got beef. With
Beef?
I got no. I know the answer, but before I get the answer, I have beef with people about this because Twizzlers trumps red vines. I know you're talking about that black vines, but Twizzlers is where it's at.
Yeah.
Red vines and black vines are not food. Okay,
They're not.
That is plastic. That is like poison. Poison.
Yeah, there you go. Black licorice. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't. Just looking at that, just put fire in my eyes right now. I can't even see.
All right, I got that off your screen real quick.
All right.
This is blue. This clothing item is usually made of denim. Some people believe they can be worn multiple times before washing.
So say that one more time.
This clothing item, this is blue. This clothing item is usually made of denim. Some people believe they can be worn multiple times before washing.
Whoa. I don't know.
Jeans? Come on. Yeah, you said jeans, right? Blue jeans. Blue jeans.
Okay, they can be warm too.
Yeah, a few more here. This substance is commonly used in roofing and asphalt. And it's black.
Roofing and asphalt.
This black substance is commonly used in roofing and asphalt.
Concrete?
Oh, come on, man. Tar.
Oh my God.
Tar. Yeah, I guess you didn't study these things here.
No.
How about okay, a couple more. This is blue. Okay, this animal is a passerine bird of the corvidé family. It is native to North America. It lives mostly in eastern and central parts of the United States and Canada, and a Canadian professional sports team uses it as its mascot.
You said a baseball team, not a hockey team.
Yes. Okay, this is a bird.
It's the Blue Jays.
Blue Jays. Yeah, see? There we go. And this
Did
one should be real simple.
Did you say that was blue? Because that's
Yeah.
black and blue.
No, this is blue. Yeah, this is blue. Blue Jays.
Man, I'm gonna challenge. Or let's go back and look at that picture. I see black and I see blue.
You do. You do say it, but the name of it is called a Blue Jay.
I know. I'm just
Yeah. So always starting something. Always starting something.
I'm just trying to have fun with you too, because you get me.
Yeah.
Right now.
Two more, then we get you out here.
No doubt.
This company has a logo. This company has a blue logo of a single lowercase letter.
A blue logo of a lowercase letter.
Yes. Really popular.
I'd say iPhone or the I. Does that count?
No, blue. Facebook. Come on, brother. Come on. Last one. Here we go. Bring it out on a high note, okay?
Don't judge me. For those listening, don't judge me.
This arachnid goes by the scientific name of Lotrodectus and is known for its females killing and eating their males after mating.
Oh, jeez, we already know this one. This one will be Black Widow.
Black Widow, yeah, you know that one. You know that one. Yeah.
Because there's some human Black Widows out there too. So,
Oh, no doubt. But you know what, my man, you got more wrong than you got right. So
I appreciate that. Thank you for putting that
out. And we back.
We back.
All right, hold up.
I think that was revenge on the how many police departments we have in the United States. He's like, oh, let me get this brother back. Let me get this brother back.
That's exactly what that was. That's exactly what that was. But.
Was the DEP program successful? Is that what you go for keeping notes? He's like, oh, let me get this dude. I got you.
Yeah. Hey, payback is a B, right? Payback is a B, right? All right, my man. So I appreciate you coming on, though, man. It was a lot of fun, man.
No doubt.
And,
no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So you stay safe up there, and
You too,
wear your mask, Wear your gloves. All that, you know.
Absolutely.
Wash your hands. Wash your hands.
Always washing my hands. And that's why I be ashy when you be seeing me. You know what I'm saying? Hey, if you see a black man's hands and it ain't ashy, he ain't washing his hands.
For real. All right, brother, man. I appreciate you, man. We'll talk soon, okay?
No doubt. You have a good one, sir.
All right, you too, man. Peace.
Peace.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this episode of the Black and Blue Podcast. I want to thank my guest on this episode, Dr. Obed Magny of the Sacramento, California Police Department, for joining me here today. It was truly a fun and educational experience, so I appreciate you, sir. And if you guys out there appreciate this kind of content as well, make sure you like and subscribe to the show on the Black and Blue Podcast YouTube channel or whatever podcast platform you hear my voice today. I'll be back next week with another fun-filled episode. Same black time, same black channel. But till then, y'all know what to do. Stay black in blue. I'll holler at you. Peace.
This has been a Maitre D Entertainment presentation.